has been quite a while since I've done anything with an old PC. So I've got this one here. I've had the cover off once already just to see what was inside of it. It is an AT case, so quite out of date and old-fashioned by today's standards and even the standards of when it was made. It is a Pentium 133. It's an early socket 7 motherboard, so it actually has 72-pin SIM RAM as opposed to the 168-pin DIMMs that you started to get around the time. Although I think those were more on MMX equipped Pentium processors. So the motherboard in this will probably support up to a non-MMX 150. If such a thing existed, I think it did. I can't remember if the top of the non-MMX chips was indeed the 133. Anyway, so I'm just taking the cover off because something that it's not doing at the moment is showing a display. And it posts, which is good, and it does seem to load, but sometimes you have to reseat the graphics card in order to get it to work. So we'll just do that. Actually, we'll take it out completely and reseat it properly. There we go. There we are. So the graphics card is this one, that's the sound card. And IDE is actually on the motherboard itself. It was around this sort of era that you did start to get disk controllers actually on the motherboard. This board itself is a bit too early for AGP, but it does have PCI. So it has 4 PCI and 3 16-bit ISA slots, and it has quite a good 2D graphics card for the time. It's an S3 Trio 64. Not sure how much RAM is on it, but we'll probably soon find out. I guess it's probably 1 or 2 megabytes of RAM, which was perfectly normal back in those days. In fact, that was a good graphics card, because it was not so much about gaming, it was more about what modes you could display on the higher definition monitors that were coming in at the time, and in how many colours you could display certain modes. It was all about colour back then, and 16.7 million colours was what a lot of the cards and manufacturers were aiming for. 24-bit true colour, as it was called. So let's plug this back in. So that is plugged in. Check the input. Input is analog. So let's power it on and see what it does. So that's a single beep now, as opposed to multiple beeps that it was getting previously. And it's still not being picked up by the monitor, which is a bit annoying. So we're on analog. It is plugged in to analog. And the keyboard works. You can press the numlock key and you get a response on that, which means that That does seem to be working, but no display. So what I'll do now is I'll try another display. Okay, that's better. So what I've tried is I tried another monitor, which didn't work. So what I did was I actually changed the slot that the graphics card was in. So we can see here that the Pentium processor is currently at 75 megahertz, which isn't correct. We need a new CMOS battery, which is easily sorted. So let's go into setup and see if the CPU is set by jumpers or if it's software, because around this time software settings for the CPU speed was actually being sorted out. So let's have a look. Speed Easy CPU setup. So we have jumper emulation. And we need to, I think, so 66 megahertz times 2.5. So you have to start doing some maths. So let's try that. And let's F10. And let's see if it boots. That's still at 75. So the down arrow on this keyboard isn't working. So speed easy mode. Let's set that. Oh, it takes up to 200. Okay. 166. Oh yeah, you could get non-MX 200s, couldn't you? If I remember rightly. So it's 133. There we go. Yeah, it's been a while since I've played around with one of these. I've actually got an MMX chip here, 233, but this motherboard won't support it, but it is the right chip. 16 meg of RAM, which is pretty good. So we'll continue. There we go. Oh, it has Windows 98. That's a surprise. Didn't think it would. Thought it would just go to DOS, but no, it looks like we've got 98 on the go. I'll just see if I can adjust out that flicker a second. So let's have a look at the shutter speed and let's see what makes it better. I've gone to about 50th of a second. That is better, that's less flickery. And it's probably got the ump because I've moved the graphics card into a different slot. And also it doesn't have a mouse attached at the moment. But we can see what it's going to do. Has been many years since I've touched a Windows 98 machine, so this will be an experience. Windows 98 is probably the latest operating system that it will run, although minimum specs for Windows 2000 Professional do say that it will run on a 133, but I think it needs 32 megs of RAM. So we'll just restart because it's just finished doing that graphics card. I'm not sure what size hard drive it's got, we'll find out shortly. But we do need to get a 2032. So that's the CMOS battery. So troubleshooting, I first off reseated the graphics card in the original PCI slot. When that didn't work, I tried a different monitor. When that didn't work, you take the PCI graphics card out of one of the PCI slots and then you put it into another PCI slot. 9 times out of 10, that fixes the problem. With modern machines, and it's really sort of interesting just how far we've come, you don't have this problem. You have a dedicated card slot for your graphics card, and there's no conflicts with that slot because it is a dedicated slot for the graphics card. It's not going to be used for anything else like other expansion cards or anything of that nature. It's for the graphics card only. You started to see less of this sort of problem with the AGP motherboards. So you actually then had an advanced graphics port which was dedicated again for the graphics card. So yeah, you did start to have less problems. This is a very bold statement of colours with the desktop here. Yellow and a kind of hot pink arrangement for the error messages, warning messages. So let's see what it looks like when it comes up. So there's no LAN card in this machine. It's just detected this monitor. It's probably never seen a monitor this new in its life, so this will be a fun experience for it. And what's it doing now? Oh, there it goes. It's trying to find the plug and play monitor. However, there are no drivers for this monitor, so we will, let's see if I can, there we are, cancel. You can hear that Seagate drive chuntering away. Seems to be enjoying itself. It has quite a legacy version of Microsoft Office on there, which is quite nice. Wow, it's got a DOS version of Microsoft Excel. We've got PowerPoint. It'd be interesting to see what versions those are actually. So let's see if we can do some tabbing to get to the desktop. Or is it Control Escape for Start menu? Oh no, hang on a minute, I think I may have just got to the desktop. Let's wait for it to load first. This is something else that you used to have to get used to with Windows 98, and it's one of the many reasons why you'd have to defragment the hard drive or just reinstall Windows from scratch, because this is the kind of exact issue that you had. It would just take forever to load, and it would invariably be very sluggish. So you'd have to almost have like a periodic reinstall of the operating system every 6 months or so. You first put Windows on, Windows 98, and it would be relatively quick and acceptable, and then you would load on your applications. It would still be reasonably okay, but as you're using the system and you're doing more and more on it, it would become unacceptably terrible. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, it would be dreadful. And that was something that was solved with Windows 2000, and it was all down to the file system. So this is using, I think this is FAT16. I'm not sure if FAT32 was here yet or not, but you had FAT16, and FAT16 gave way to FAT32, which gave way to exFAT, if I remember rightly. And I'm trying to get into my computer. Let's see if I can go to run and FileMan. the N doesn't work. M works, but N doesn't work, so this keyboard is a bit iffy as well. In fact, N and B don't work. And space doesn't work either. That's handy. So this keyboard is actually a bit rubbish. I need to find another PS2 keyboard somewhere. I'm sure I've got one hanging about. I normally do, but I don't have it immediately to hand, unfortunately, so we'll have to deal with this separately. Anyway, things will be easier once I've got the mouse. Let's see if I can tab to the desktop. There, so that's the desktop. So I'm on the desktop now. So that's tabbed onto the start, onto that, which was the launch for Internet Explorer Outlook Express. I think that's on the system tray and back on the desktop. So what I should be able to do, you should be able to press enter. I'll do Control Escape instead, and if I go to Documents and Documents, oh yeah, this is I remember this. This was when Windows was using Internet Explorer to effectively provide the desktop experience. It came in Windows 95 OSR 2, if I remember rightly, and it's one of those things that seems to have stuck, and it's quite yeah, it's quite it was, I don't know, yeah. So I'm trying to see if I can get any information about the drive itself. It actually looks like it's a Windows 95 upgrade, because you've got the Windows 95 cab files and you've got the 98 SE cab files. So at least it is second edition, which is good. First edition of Windows 98 wasn't brilliant. Let's be honest, it was not good at all. There were a number of problems with it. Yay, my computer. And now we should be able to oh, that's annoying. What if I can do views? So V details. There you go. So it's a 2 GB drive and it has 608 megabytes of free space. So that's good. We now know what we're dealing with space-wise. That's pretty good. And oh yeah, there's the good old closed program system monitor thing. That takes me back. So there we are. That is this old PC. We've managed to just turn it on, and actually it does seem to be fairly reliable so far. So let's try and power it down. So what we'll do is we'll shut it down, and OK. And this is where it's obviously going to shut down. probably come up with the orange thing that says your computer is safe to turn off. Yeah, there you go, that takes me back. And there you go, powered down. So, what do I need for this? Well, a different keyboard. Might even need a proper AT keyboard, so I'm using a AT to PS2 adapter at the moment. It might also be because it's an Acorn keyboard, but Acorn RISC PC keyboards I'm pretty certain were compatible with a standard PC. They did use a standard PS2 connector and interfacing standard, so I'm not convinced it's that, but I'm not totally unconvinced either. So I'll need an AT keyboard and a serial mouse, and I think that's probably about it actually. And then I can clean everything up, reinstall an operating system of choice, maybe 98, and then you've got something for a bit of old gaming and old software use. Has a CD-ROM drive, which is quite handy as well, so yeah, that could be good. Anyway, that's it for today's video, just a quick one. I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.